Hey, it's Scribs, and today I want to have a more important discussion with you guys. I'm putting this out in the midweek because I don't really want it to. Well, I do want people to watch it, but I don't want it to be in place of the weekly video because I still want to make something this week, and so this is a different sort of situation. I think the reason I want to talk about this is because I've wanted to talk about it for a while, and I ended up not doing it because I thought that not enough people were talking about it, so maybe people either didn't care or it just wasn't all that like something that I should have brought to light, if that makes sense. I was kind of like, okay, if not everybody's talking about it, I'll just leave it where it's at. And yeah, but after the more recent drama in our community that's been going on between a call out from this creator called Morgs. I'd actually never heard of him before this video was made, and then I heard of him because I saw he put Kelsey Rodriguez in the thumbnail. Now I have my own opinions about her, so that's why I clicked on the video, and from there I was able to see that I agreed with his perspective a little bit. A lot of people say the argument isn't well argued, and there was people who came to her defense, and this also reminded me of another situation, and then that's why I was like, oh, I have to make this video. So when talking about creators who get into controversy for whatever reason, the first thing that happens, which happens in real life too, I guess, when somebody does when somebody does something messed up and people who are fans of them or people who are just like always concerned about character, they're gonna go, well, so and so is a good person, or so and so has good intentions, and I get it, you when you're talking about somebody who is fairly innocent and new to these, not new, but like they're not normally caught up in controversy, if that makes sense. Like, you kind of want to defend and protect and talk about how, like, sure, maybe they may be doing what they're being accused of, but because I like them or because they're likable, it's kind of something that should be let off the hook, I guess. I was gonna say, like, people should let it slide, yeah. And so that kind of happened here with Kelsey Rodriguez, because she was like, well, I haven't been making art as much yet, but people still get help from the things I put out. And it was like, I feel like the argument that was being made wasn't being talked about really. But the point that I want to make with that is to talk about art criticism, like of sometimes of the person behind the account, and sometimes of what the person is depicting, which ends up being more about their character. So last week's video, I had talked about how people will often critique your art and it will be unsolicited and sometimes just downright mean. And it's one of the reasons I don't want to go on TikTok, because I've just heard people are usually very mean over there. And so, like, when people had trouble with this jelly art style or whatever, like, just a lot of weird drama for seemingly no reason, I feel. And because of that reason, I was like, I don't actually want to go into art drama or whatever, but I found this to be important because it was something that was turning out to kind of be a pattern, or because of the response was terrible. And I thought about the thing that happened with Koolen. I don't know how you say their name. I've never watched the channel. really, I don't watch art channels that do more critiques than putting out their own thing, because that's not how that I don't find it entertaining, and that's not how I want to learn. There's I don't know if I'd say there's a problem with wanting to watch that content or anything. I'm not gonna go that far, but it's just not something that interests me, is what I'll say. So I didn't ever get into it, but I know there was a problem where I had seen that she drew this profile triangle and it just wasn't accurate to everybody's anatomy, and that's why I want to talk about this controversy. So I don't know if you've ever heard of this artist. I used to follow him on Instagram because I found his style to be really inspirational, and yeah, I just thought he was a really talented artist. He drew a lot of Disney stuff, and I grew up on Disney. I love Disney, so yeah. But the first thing I saw that he had got into was a little bit of a disagreement over how he had drawn Ariel with a fried chicken, and this was Ariel Hallie's version. I always feel like I say her name wrong, rather than the original version that came out in came out a while ago. So this is the live action version that contains a black actress depicting Ariel, and she's eating fried chicken. Now, this person is not American. He's not an American born citizen. I don't even think he lives in America. I think he's still living in the Philippines. So this stereotype is more familiar to Americans, but he mentions that he consumes a lot of foreign media, and I guess I feel like, I don't know, it's not like I'm trying to make excuses for this person, but I do think it's a little bit harder to pick up on racism that's not for your that's like American when you're not from America, and is also not for your group, like your ethnicity or your culture or whatever marginalized group that you're in, which not necessarily racism in that case, but just any sort of bigotry. Like, you're not going to be as in tune to it, I think. I do know that for this incident he had apologized, and I think he redrew it. Yeah, I think he redrew it and he apologized, and it was like, okay, that feels a little bit better. But I do know that there was another incident more recently, and this is what made me unfollow him, mainly his response to it, not just the fact that it had been drawn. So I'm gonna go over that now. This artist had decided to draw the characters from Inside Out as humans, and one of the characters he decided to draw as in the human form was inspired by Mother's Milk from The Boys, so he ended up being a black character. By the way, I had been around when this happened, and then I refound this thread on Instagram with one other person talking. I meant Twitter with one other person talking about it, so that's how I'm getting my information now. Here is where he cites his inspiration for the character, which I already take a problem with. There's other black characters in the show, The Boys. They're not all big and muscular, and Mother's Milk isn't a character I would say is like an angry black man, you know what I mean? He's a character who has OCD, who's a father who has a lot of trauma from losing his family in front of him, because a superhero killed them and simply didn't care that he had lost all his family members. So even if he is quote unquote angry, it makes sense. He's living in a terrible world. And it's crazy because that show talks about racism as well a bit, though the affordabilities of it are very different depending on whether you're a superhero or not. It still gets you discriminated against, though you might have a bit more mobility in getting away with things. But anyway, that's not the point of the video, so let's get back to what I was talking about. Now we get into his response, which I found very inappropriate. He claims that because he's Filipino, and he also did the thing where he explained to inspo he doesn't really know any better and he doesn't have time to research. And then if you translate what he had said in Filipino, it's basically the last slide of what he said in English, but there's a little bit more there. Yeah, so basically all the stuff that he said here, but he says a little bit more. It's very aggressive and very rude to somebody who simply was just saying this. Basically, as an artist, you have a responsibility to make sure, especially as a character designer, I think, you have a responsibility to make sure the characters that you're drawing are, despite the intentions of drawing them, are not coming across as hurtful or spreading stereotypes or anything like that. You, as a character designer, as an artist, as someone who's trying to depict and do these cool things, do have to do a little bit of research. Like if you were to draw fan art for the Last Airbender, Avatar: The Last Airbender, or even Avatar, the movie, the Blue People movie, you've watched the material, you've absorbed it, and then you have all that information. So that's a little bit of research, basically, in order to draw the characters based off of their information. And that's their culture, that's their way of life, you know, it's all of those things. So I don't think it's too far-fetched to say, not that you have to go out of your way to research it or anything, which I don't think it's out of the way necessarily, even, but I don't think that getting feedback from somebody in a nice way and who is feeling, and from Black fans who are feeling uncomfortable, you know, when a person from the marginalized group comes and talks to you, and I feel like after that you do your research and you see why what you depicted was wrong, even if you had no intention of doing that. You know, I don't think that's too far-fetched to ask in any means. And I understand that somebody saying that about your work feels hurtful, but nobody said that you weren't a good artist or anything. They're just like, hey, you put something hurtful in this art, whether or not you meant to, and therefore I'm not able to engage with it. Honestly, I even think the threat to harass this user was also really strange and disappointing. But yeah, this is why I unfollowed them. And my whole big point about this is sometimes when people are saying you're hurting your audience, you do need to listen instead of going on the defense. That's very different than people just coming at you out of nowhere for no reason. They had a pretty good reason in this case, and I think it's very hurtful that instead of listening and growing, like how he seemed to preach, especially how he said everybody was being exceptionally mean to Hallie and this Ariel being Black, that he would then do a similar thing and not want to take the time to correct that mistake, because he's like, I'm not them though, I'm not being aggressive. But the truth is, there's many different ways you can hurt somebody without even realizing. And I think as artists who are sharing our art with the world, we need to be cognizant of that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I know it had a different tone and I wasn't really drawing in it. I hope you still like the video, and like and comment and tell me what you think about this, and tell me if there's ever been an incident with an artist where you thought they were being hurtful or negative in their depictions of anybody. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye.